Watch the real-life program about exceptional destinies, remarkable opportunities, and unbelievable facts right now.
There's the front of the ZIL lorry, his attempt to see the invisible things which are necessary for an artist. Everyone followed the canon of socialist realism in the Soviet Union times. He wasn't afraid of being reckless and was unaware of the borders in this closed country. There were over 60 exhibitions, some of which were abroad. He dreamt of a small island somewhere in the Indian Ocean. According to the ratings, I was the most expensive artist in the early 1990s. I was the most expensive, scandalous, and impudent artist. It's Aivar Taziyev's jump into the depth of the subconscious. A myth about an artist and higher mathematics. A museum at home where you must touch the exhibit. How can you reach the island of the subconscious? What does metaphysical synthetism mean? Yes, there are about 100 works which occupy the whole place and reach up to the ceiling. Oh, Arthur, when I break something, we should cry, but not laugh. There are high ceilings in his flat. They're like a high target. It's both a workshop and a flat. However, it's actually a museum. When my mother-in-law, who's the same age as I am, arrived to meet me, she entered, looked around and asked, "Will my child live in a museum?" It's both a pirate ship and a kitchen. There are frying pans, kettles, and little spoons hanging. In addition, there's a submarine made of a pumpkin. Like hundreds of objects in this flat, it was made by Aivar. Are the lights on or not? In general, it looks like a ship. There's even a porthole. With a pipe, I summon the crew. You can whistle to tell them to go upstairs. The captain's cabin is up under the ceiling. There's his portrait in which he's wearing a cocked hat and knight's armor. Artur, you're laughing, but this mess is because of you. You're everywhere, all over the place here. By the way, that's my personal emblem there. All his passions are kept here. The weapons hold a central place. He has a graceful but silly dog he loves a lot. His marriages are 5 links of a chain. 5-year-old Artur is the happiness brought to Aivar Taziev not long ago. The quiet harbor takes all this time. Pirates and sweets are Artur's passion. Don't you want to eat? No, because it's late. It's never late to eat. That's right. There isn't a lunch break in the museum. There are crossbows, blades, spears, and helmets. There's a smithy, too. Aivar smelted iron in the fireplace. There was an anvil here, coking coal was stored there, and a compressor was placed here. The front of a ZIL, an old lorry, somehow popped up in our yard. I brought it home, cleaned it properly, and here we have a real helmet. You can put it on and fight. If you use Toyota metal, it'll be rubbish because it isn't real steel. He's been interested in the Middle Ages since childhood. The Knights of the Cross, Polish film, had a great influence on him. My brother and I made cardboard helmets with visors. Our grandfather made wooden swords for us, and we fought until we were covered with bruises. As a result, he built up the biggest crossbow collection in the world. It contains 25 of them. He made them himself using photos and illustrations. These weapons are exact copies of European original works. I used the best materials, including beech wood, very thick steel, and ivory inlay. Thus, it's a splendid thing. If only it had a trigger mechanism and it was possible to load it, the bow pressure would equal 75 kilos. In this case, it would breach an ordinary steel door quite easily.
То есть эта штука может пробить обычную бытовую дверь стальную в 2 счета.
You can't fire them. I have a document given by the Maine Department of Internal Affairs. It says that the trigger mechanisms were taken out, so now they're just like decoration. This room is almost like a castle. You can't touch anything here. Small Artur has known about this prohibition since babyhood. It's dangerous and very important to his dad. Aivar used to work as a set designer at a folk theatre in Soviet times. He really worked hard. Took him only 2 days to finish his work, so he had a lot of time on his hands to create, and he did so. His friends helped him to organize exhibitions. It's the Polygraphist Palace of Culture, the Lermontov Theatre lobby in Almaty. Actually, European exhibitions could never have taken place since the Committee for State Security had too many arguments against the impudent Taziev. I was often taken to the Committee for State Security under Andropov because the Artists' Union had informed against me since I ignored them. I didn't even ask their permission for holding exhibitions. Aivar jokes that you can see the mark left by the Committee for State Security in his X-ray pictures revealing a spinal fracture. He was injured in the army, where he was, thanks to his uncle, Homeland Security General. 1 year he spent without moving taught him to appreciate life. I survived, although the surgeon said I wouldn't be able to walk again. Nothing of the sort. I recovered because I prayed, and I believed in God. I'm an Orthodox Christian and wear a cross. Aivar, who was baptized as Foma, believes in God. He says, as he survived, it meant that God had some plans for him. Thanks to his responsibility, he soon became disciplined. He made himself take a brush, although he didn't want to. Soon after that, he started wearing a wolf fur coat, which was only one in Almaty, and destroyed myths about artists. For example, when you go to a clinic, they ask you what your job is. I'm an artist. Ah, it means you have a lot of problems with your liver. I tell them I don't drink and I do yoga, and they say, are you crazy? Maybe you're a Buddhist. No, I'm not. He even pierced his ear when he wasn't so young. When I turned 40, I thought, I'm already 40, but I still don't wear a hoop earring. It's awful. I took a gypsy's horrible needle and pierced my ear myself. Why did I do that? I just wanted to decorate myself. Against all the odds, Taziev Gallery opened in the 1990s. It was the first private gallery in Almaty. The meeting of Almaty Belmond had a poetic name, Meetings on the Mountain. There were poets, writers, artists, and surreal pictures by Aivar. It was published in the newspapers that they were wearing plunging necklines with sparkling diamonds, and so on.
Бриллианты сверкают и прочее.
Surrealism is an art movement. It began in the early 1920s in France. This movement combines dreams and reality. It's a conflicting combination of natural and absurd images. It's a prop. Actually, it's called Morgenstern, which means morning star. I call it Guten Morgen. You just hit a head with it once, and that's all. His pictures had a similar effect on Soviet citizens 20 years ago. Meanwhile, his works were bought at a very high price in Europe so often that the artist started considering waiting for a year or two and buying a small island in India or a castle in Scotland. Once I was surfing the net and saw that Nikita Safarov had bought a castle. Well, it wasn't so expensive, but I'd call them a ruin rather than a castle. There was a beautiful small bridge and beautiful ruins. Of course, there should have been some ghost as well.
Красивые руины, явно свое привидение какое-то есть.
Hundreds of pictures were added to European private collections. I could be asked then how I spent that money. It's also a kind of joke. Aivar Taziev has a Latvian name and Turkic roots. He's like a bridge over the Bosporus connecting two continents. His paintings are his language. Only selected people understand, and only the rich can appreciate it. According to the law of life, the spiritually richer you are, the less money you have, and nothing can be done about it.
Беднее финансово, ну что тут сделаешь?
There are no special instructions concerning how to understand his paintings. Just look at them, but don't think too hard. You don't need to understand them, you should just feel them. The comparison of his works with higher mathematics became great praise for Aivar Taziev.
Такой самый лестный был мне.
It was quite flattering because I really do treat my work like higher mathematics. One thing grows from another and my paintings are as useless as higher mathematics is. However, it helps understand that you're human.
Так же бесполезна, как высшая математика. Но она делает человека человеком.
His exhibitions were held in Holland, France, Germany, the USA, and the CIS countries. However, in his opinion, the exhibition held in the Kazakhstan Museum in Almaty was the most grandiose project of all. There were more than 100 pictures. His paintings are connected with intellectual or contemplative processes. The difficult term metaphysical synthesis is used for them. The main principles of metaphysical synthesis are the following. The highest tension of being means closeness to God. Art is a road of beauty, and a picture is a window into a spiritual world. There can be something in my pictures, even I can't say what it is. Actually, it's called difference between the light and darkness.
На самом деле она называется разделение на свет и тьму.
He calls himself a boy who didn't play enough. He made painting discoveries and tried new techniques. Curiosity always stimulated him. When I was young, I engaged in esoteric science. I was devoted to it and made some achievements. It may be a reason why I was such a prolific artist. There is a conception of an open or closed aura. When I turned about 50, it seemed that the hatchway was closed firmly.
Вот с возраста у меня где-то лет с 50, как будто бы люк закрыли и завинтили полностью.
He says he recovered, but there are some regrets too. When he recalls himself in the past, he suddenly revives.
Прежде я был как-то немного не в себе.
In the beginning, I was a little off. Can you understand? Often journalists ask me during exhibitions if my friends circled fingers at their temples.
Я там не вертел пальцем у виска.
They did. As for the Soyuz Pichat, Soviet print workers, they didn't know what to do. The relief above the fireplace is a copy of his picture, which was an illustration for the calendar for the year 1990. It was prohibited to sell it. There was an edition of many copies. I covered the walls of my hall with them.
Вот она.
Here it's colored. This picture is now in the Salvador Dali Museum. It's on exhibit there.
И теперь там экспонируется.
Oh my God, have I really painted so much? We could say it's enough for 3 lives. There are about 1,000 paintings.
Ну, столько живописных работ, около 1000.
You feel a bit invigorated when you realize that you haven't wasted your life. He follows his aim and wants to reach spiritual heights and separate the spirit from the material world by the rich source of creativity flowing through him. He keeps saying that he's covered only half of this road and never finishes anything. Probably It's an endless life.
Artusha,
Artusha, are you hungry? It's almost 3 o'clock.
почти.